The will to combat. The late 20th century soldier does not expect to be left to die of his wounds on the battlefield. For the reduction of delay in evacuating the wounded soldiers from the point of injury to the point of first aid in the period since 1918 has been striking and represents easily the most important of many advances achieved in modern military medicine. In Western armies during the Second World War, the delay between suffering injury and arriving at the aid post was commonly reduced to under an hour. In Vietnam, where casualty evacuation helicopter pilots were trained to land in the fire zone and under fire, it averaged 15 minutes, rather less than the victim of a civilian traffic accident might spend in an ambulance. The patient, moreover, can now be transfused in the helicopter and landed at a hospital offering a complete range of resuscitation facilities and expert surgery in a variety of specialties. Today, the victim is unlucky, who, escaping death outright, succumbs to the effects of his wounds. The early 20th century soldier already perceived the hope of life, which the novel combination of expert surgery, anesthesis, and asepsis offered if he should be hit. But it was a perception less immediate than that which he had of the dangers, enormously magnified since Waterloo, of the battlefield on which he had to move, and of the gravity, equally magnified, of the sort of wound he could suffer on it. What, given these perceptions, was it that impelled him to leave cover, advance, and engage in combat in such circumstances? Not everyone, even at high moments of the war, was prepared to do so. On the eve of the Somme, quintessentially a high moment, a number of soldiers inflicted wounds on themselves to avoid having to jump the parapet. At low moments of the war, of which later stages of the third Battle of Wipers yielded many, some British battalions realistically accepted that some men would not or could not stand the strain of action and excused them from duty. To gratify a mawkish humanitarianism, wrote the excessively tough minded medical officer of the 2nd Royal Welsh Fusiliers on October 15, 1917. 2 or 3 score mean fellows are encouraged to slip away every time there is risk to their skins. So more and more average men learn to shrink with impunity. Attacks fail, and losses run into the untold thousands, because the most dutiful of our men are not backed up. And, taking a very broad view of the war, a point was reached in which every army at which either a majority or a disabling minority refused to go on. This point was reached by the French army in May of 1917, when the collective indiscipline occurred in 54 of 110 divisions on the Western Front. The Russian army in July 1917, when it failed to resist the German counterattack consequent on the collapse of the Kerensky offensive. In the Italian army of November 1917, when the Second Army disintegrated under German-Austrian attack at Caporetto. In March 1918, the British Fifth Army collapsed, as much morally as physically, and in October, the German army in the West signified to its officers its unwillingness to continue fighting. In each case, excepting Germany's, and if we count the Battle of Loos in September 1915 as British's introduction to heavy losses, the moment of collapse occurred between 2 years, 6 months, and 2 years, 11 months after the outbreak. However, it is probably not the lapse of time which is significant, but the relationship of total casualties to the number of fighting troops engaged. A rough calculation, and anything better than a rough calculation is difficult, with such notoriously unreliable statistics as casualty figures, suggests that the break comes soon after the total number of deaths suffered equaled the number of fighting infantry in the divisions. Oh, hello there. I didn't see you guys come in. Welcome to Bitcoin Talk Show. I was just reading a little bit of The Face of Battle by John Keegan, military historian par excellence. He wrote the book called The First World War. He wrote the book called The Second World War. He's got a book on the Civil War. He's amazing. but he's talking about casualties. And I was especially tickled by the first part where he talked about how fast they can get the casualties off the field to the hospital, given the helicopters, given the modern medicine, given how incredible the modern hospital is. Really, they can take him from the jungle to a hospital with a full range of specialties. So most soldiers are saved. They're wounded, but saved. I think this kind of ties into Bitcoin as well as we were talking about the breaking point and the point in which everyone gives up hope, which again is the only point where things can turn around. I don't know why it has to be that way, but it just seems like it is. Today is Monday, August 20th, 2018. My name is Thomas Hunt, and here's what's happening today in Bitcoin. The price of Bitcoin is even or down about 1 percentage point at 6,432, with a high of 6,544 and a low of 6,342. That's $1 for 15,541 Satoshis. Checking in on the top 10 altcoins by volume weighted against the price of Bitcoin, Ethereum is down 3% against Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash down 3.5%, EOS down 3.5%, Ripple down 2.5%, Ethereum Classic down 2%, Litecoin down 2%, Ontology down half a point, Dash down 3%, and Qtum down 3%, rounding out the top 10 altcoins by volume against the price of Bitcoin. Checking out the top 5 distributed applications, they've roared back to life on Monday as it seems people use distributed applications more during the week than on the weekend. We've got IDEX, Supercard, a gambling site, Fork Delta in the lead, and the top 3 all with over 1,000 daily active users. Ethereum follows up in 4th place at 500 daily active users, and CryptoKitties rounds out the top 5 with 500 or so daily active users. Checking out Blocktivity, the most active blockchains. EOS still in the lead, followed by Steam, who seems to have convincingly passed BitShares, taken 2nd place. Ethereum follows in 4th place, and it's always full. The Bitcoin blockchain is currently full, with 11,000 unconfirmed transactions, no doubt waiting for a block. The Bitcoin blockchain, unlike the Ethereum blockchain, actually clears. You can support the World Crypto Network by donating to the Bitcoin addresses on your screen right now, or any of the crazy altcoins accepted by Trezor. We've got a Patreon campaign at patreon.com/WCN, where 32 patrons are donating $239 a month. You can join with your credit card for as little as $2 a month to help support the show. Over at the Mad Bitcoins Patreon, things are up and things are down. We had one new Patreon, but we lost one Patreon. We have 80 patrons supporting us with $493 a month. That's a mere $7 a month away from the $500 barrier. What happens if the Mad Bitcoins Patreon goes over $500? I don't know, probably nothing. But it would be great if that happened. Go, Mad Bitcoins Patreon. Go. Meanwhile, at our Tallycoin campaign, we've had some new donations, as you can see from the impressive Tallycoin chart. Look at our donations over time. Up, up, up. We've raised 0.05253 Bitcoin, which is $338.32 towards our goal of $1 million to spread the word about Bitcoin and the World Crypto Network. That's 0.03% towards our goal. Thank you for your support. The World Crypto Network has 60,868 subscribers, inching ever closer to 61,000, which seems to be the impossible number, the one which we cannot top. Please subscribe to the World Crypto Network and click the bell to get notifications whenever we're on. That's right, get notified about every video. Click the notifications bell on the World Crypto Network video page. Yesterday on the World Crypto Network was Sunday. We only had one show, Bitcoin Talk Show. And now let's find out your comments. We had a very active chat during the show. We got 161 likes. That's for 1,378 views. Woo! Way to go, World Crypto Network. Let's see what's going on in the comments. Lots of words in the comments. Here we go. All right, people wrote me essays today. Let's start out small. Crypto nudes and noobs includes a timestamp. Thank you so much. He says Keynesianism. You just print money to solve problems, and then when you have more problems, you just print more money. That does seem to be how it works. B.L. Dwyan sent us a big essay about Madero and Venezuela. Thank you so much for your contribution. We're not going to be able to read it all here, but we're showing it on the screen, so it will be preserved as part of the archive. There was a reply. They are having a discussion about Venezuela. So interesting stuff. Jim D writes shorter. He says, Zero Hedge et al. See the socialist writing on the U.S. wall and continue their Red Scare propaganda. Capitalism is designed to eat itself into oblivion. Let's see. Roy Westbacher disagrees with chicken. He says chicken's not very good. The production or reduction of chicken and some research into the pseudoscience called nutrition. I do wonder what he eats, though. I wonder if he's one of these new crypto carnivores and they only eat steak. And sadly, I'm not sure the steak production is much better than the chicken production, but I agree it's very difficult to get clean food. Difficult, expensive, time consuming. I don't know, outside of the range of a lot of people. But it does seem to be one of the important things for the future is trying to get some clean food, right? BL Dewine says chickens in the USA are chlorinated. That doesn't sound good. I hope not. Oh, well. And Roy says he agrees with caller Jose in the Yucatan. He agrees with his take on Venezuela. Jose had a very large section of the show yesterday, and he told us his take about Venezuela. He thinks that they are rebelling against the US dollar, and it's a very impressive and exciting thing they're doing with the petro. Some of the callers and myself, kind of on the other side, we're not so sure about the petro. It seems like a country has printed a shitcoin, and it's a wonderful like progress in the right direction, right? But it's not really a good step forward. It's kind of like going to the moon, but our rocket blew up. Like it's a setback. It's a setback, but it's also an exciting thing. Like we had a rocket. It was cool. Bunny Money might agree with that. He says the El Petro is just a test case. It will expose the weaknesses in a reset to cryptos. Hopefully it goes well. So when we have to do it, we might have gotten the kinks worked out. It also could be a huge scam. Either way, it's free publicity for cryptos. I would agree with that. I think that's a good comment. Bunny Money also includes a timestamp. Thank you so much. About 31:35, he says, helped a dictator? No way. The U.S. government doesn't do anything inadvertently. And that's an interesting comment. And finally, we have an award for the best name of the day. Hiroja Shibe's Space Odyssey Network writes, should the petro hit any of the cryptocurrency exchange markets, would buying the petro violate the NAP? I'm pretty sure the NAP is the non-aggression principle or something like that, but it's a big, sleep lightly or briefly, especially during the day. A short sleep, especially during the day. I search nap libertarian, it comes right up. Okay, so it is the non-aggression principle. And let's see, an ethical stance that aggression is inherently wrong. This aggression will not stand, man. This aggression against Kuwait. In this context, aggression is defined as initiating or threatening any forcible interference with an individual or individual's property. Things just got really complicated at the end of that sentence. In contrast to pacifism, man, the non-aggression principle does not forbid forceful defense. The non-aggression principle is considered by some to be a defining principle of natural rights libertarians. The non-aggression principle is a prominent idea in anarcho-capitalism, liberalism, ah, libertarianism, and minarchism, a very small state, the night watchman state. That's the one we always have when the space aliens come. It's always Mars attacks when we're into minarchism. But, there it is, I don't know, why don't you guys tell me in the chat and in the phone calls, do you think the Petro would violate the NAP? I don't know, I mean, I guess in some ways you're supporting if the people are being forced to use the petro, you're kind of supporting it by trying to profit on it. For me, the main thing is that if you're buying the petro, you're buying it to speculate in some way. So you're just kind of a capitalist. So I'm kind of shrugging my shoulders. I don't care. That's fine, right? If you're shorting it or you're buying it or you're gonna buy it and then you're gonna short it. So do not know. But interesting question. And thanks again for participating in yesterday's comments. Yesterday's comments. Here we go. New York Times still lets you read half of the newspaper. Here it is. Go away thing. Go away. After the Bitcoin boom, hard lessons for cryptocurrency investors. Yeah, I feel that. Take profits. Otherwise, you'll have to wear orange shoes like this guy. His holdings dropped 70% in value. Oh, sad. Got to fear missing out. Let's see. Okay, so they write this story every time the price of Bitcoin goes up and goes down. They say, people lost money, people made money, people lost the money that they made. Yeah, so, that happens. And then what happens is they learn about Bitcoin and they stick around, right? People who learn about Bitcoin and lose a bunch of money, just generally as gamblers, they stick around because they want to win their money back. Why are you still at the craps table after you lost 75% of your roll? Because the other 25% is going to deliver you victory, right? You're investing it more aggressively, right? You're on the hard ways. You're all over the board. But I do think that, these kind of articles keep coming out, and we still just have to examine our basic principles. We have to listen to the right ideas in our head, which are dollar cost averaging, take profits, hodl, but not forever. So we'll have to see how those ideas work together, and you guys can tell me how it works out. But the new plan is to be adaptable, right? Not to be stuck in one idea. Meanwhile, Bitcoin awaits decisive move as the price range tightens. It's getting tighter. Bitcoin is stuck in a narrowing range. We're in a tight spot, and the direction of the next breakout is far from certain. I love these guys. It's always like raining, but it's not raining. It's hot, but it's also cold. So we looked at all those charts. A bull pennant breakout will likely allow a rally to $7,000. The outlook, as per the daily chart, would turn bullish if the prices find acceptance above $7,067. Everybody's just looking for acceptance. A pennant breakdown would shift the risk in favor of a drop to $6,000. Dun dun dun! The February low. The support at 5,859, the August 14th low, and 5,755, the June 29th low, would come into play if the bulls fail to defend $6,000. Dramatic advice from CoinDesk and Omkar Godbol, who still owns no cryptocurrency. SEC faces Thursday deadline for ProShares Bitcoin ETF decision. That's right, it's happening again. Another event that's not really related to Bitcoin is going to drive the price up or down as the speculators decide which way they're going to go. Right now, the speculators have to bet, will the ProShares Bitcoin ETF be confirmed? I'll tell you what I'd bet on if I could bet on it. Delay, 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 delay. As the man said, delay, 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 delay. That's what you do. You never make a decision until you have to make a decision. Let's see what they're going to do by Thursday. Set by Thursday. Can't they delay it? Let's see. Originally last December. Sure, that's great. It's going to be determined. Originally, they proposed this in September of 2017. That's a long time ago. Let's see. The SEC. Ba, ba, ba. Here we go. Proposals at the end of January. It doesn't say when they can delay it. So they rejected the Winklevi one. They delayed the Van Eck solid share one. And I'm betting they're going to try to delay this one. But either way, we're going to see some hot action between now and Thursday as the gamblers come in and make their bets on both sides. More Bitcoin price news in the mainstream media. And we were going to check out Ode on a Grecian Urn, as he says right here, by John Keats. Excuse me. Thou still unravished bride of quietness, thou foster child of silence and slow time, Sylvian historian, who can thus express a flowery tale more sweetly than our rhyme? What leaf-firing legend haunts about thy shape, of deities or mortals or of both, in Tempe or the dales of Arcady? What men or gods are these? What maidens loath? What mad pursuit? What struggle to escape? What pipes and timbrels? What wild ecstasy? Heard melodies are sweet, but those unheard are sweeter. Therefore, yet soft pipes play on, not to the sensual ear, but more endeared. Pipe to the spirit ditties of no tune, fair youth beneath the trees. Thou cannot leave thy song, nor ever can those trees be bare. Bold lover, never, never canst thou kiss. Though winning near the goal, yet do not grieve. She cannot fade, though thou hast not thy bliss. For ever wilt thou love, and she be fair. Ah, happy, happy boughs that cannot shed your leaves, nor ever bid the spring adieu. And happy melodist unwearied. Oh, how long is this thing, man? Come on. I can't take it anymore. All right, fine, whatever. When old age shall this generation waste, thou shalt remain in midst of other woe than ours, a friend to man, whom thou sayest, beauty is truth, truth beauty. That is all ye need to know on earth, and all ye need to know. Look, I'm not going to be rushed into having him testify so he gets trapped into perjury. And when you tell me that, you know he should testify because he's going to tell the truth and he shouldn't worry. Well, that's so silly because it's somebody's version of the truth, not the truth. He didn't have a a conversation. Truth is truth. I don't mean to go like, no, it isn't. Truth isn't truth. The President of the United States says, I didn't. Truth isn't truth? Mr. Mayor, do you realize? What? I? No, no. This is going to become a bad meme. And we're now accepting calls on Bitcoin Talk Show. What's on your mind about Bitcoin or truth or beauty? Is that all you need to know? Is truth truth? What about Bitcoin? Are we taking heavy casualties? Can we stand this battle? Do we need a chopper to the helicopter? Give us a call right now on Skype at World Crypto Network, all one word, or you can call us at 518 600 1949. Remember, this is a first come, first serve caller system. If someone does get on the line, you need to wait until they're done before it's your turn to call again. So everyone just kind of needs to wait on the sidelines. But right now, it's your moment to shine. Can you handle the truth? The chat says. They're excited. They're fired up. We talked about the SEC Do you think the Bitcoin ETF will be approved on Thursday? Is that where you're placing your bets? Do you think they can delay? If they can delay, they will delay, right? Or my name isn't Tom Delay, right? And that's a real person. Anyway, we could always read the poem How or show you the impressive progress of our Tallycoin fundraiser, but we're waiting right now for your phone calls. We are standing by. Silence. Something about silence makes me sick. Because silence could be violence only like a slit wrist. Torn between my culture and the system. I was born to rage against them. Hello, caller. You're live on the World Crypto Network. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Thomas, my name is John, calling from Arizona.
Hi, John. What's on your mind today from Arizona?
What do you think about the graph?
Oh, the price of Bitcoin?
No, not Bitcoin, the altcoin called Graph.
There's an altcoin called Graph.
Yeah.
Is it graph like the chart graph, or is it just straight up like
Yes, sir.
graft like theft?
Graph like the chart graph.
I've never heard of it. Why don't you tell me a little bit about it?
Well, it's I was looking at Coin Market Cap, and it just came out. Let me see. I'm on here right now. I'll bring it up. And it is on the Coin Market Cap. It's spelled GRAFT. The abbreviation is GRFT, and it's at 0.009766 USD right now. And let's see what else it says. The market cap is 3.399 million, and the volume is 28,000. Circulating supply is 348 million. Total supply is, wow, quite a bit. well over a million on total supply.
All right. Well, first of all, we have to confirm it's actually called graft. So graft is a personal gain or advantage earned by an individual at the expense of others as a result of the exploitation of the singular status of or influential relationship with another who has a position of public trust or confidence. So graft is bribery in a political sense.
Wow.
Graft implies the existence of theft, fraud, corruption, the lack of integrity, which is expected in any transaction involving a public official. So, first of all, I am just terrified by the name. The fact that they've called their altcoin graft is horrifying to me. I mean, why not just call it scam? Like special, sensorized, automatic machine. I got to get me some of those scam coins. So no, I'm just terrified by the name. I can't even I can't even go beyond that. I don't know the audience. Of course, the audience is not a fan. There's varying reactions. I like this one. Michael says, "Get out and hold your Bitcoin," whereas Voltaire says, "All in." so,
I see.
no, I would be very careful of any brand new altcoin, especially one called Graft or Scam or anything like that. So
I see.
yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, I appreciate the explanation, and that because I was leery about it, and just thought I'd give you a call and see what your opinion on it was.
Well, I'm pretty critical of most.
Go
I'm
ahead.
pretty critical of most new altcoins. I mean, I was critical of Ethereum when it came out, and still kind of am. The fact that they're going down doesn't really surprise me. But no, I mean, I'm just mainly stick to Bitcoin, do dollar cost averaging. If you got to try out the alts, pick the top 10. I don't know, pick a winner, or try to find a new winner and invest early in it. So Yeah, I think it's going to be tough for Graphcoin. Yeah.
Yeah, and it at the website it says here it's in relation to point of sale.
Yeah, the
Uh,
point of sale thing, that's been tried in a lot of different ways, and it's a huge chicken and egg problem, right? Because if I'm a business and I
okay.
accept Bitcoin, that's great. Where are you going to get any customers that want to pay with it? On the other hand, if you're a customer and you want a business to take Bitcoin, there are so many businesses in the world. You need a network like the credit card that goes around and turns all these businesses on. And even when they tried that in
Hmm.
San Francisco or in Florida with the Bitcoin Bowl, they couldn't get both sides of it to work at the same time. So that's the big problem
I,
there.
I see. Hmm. Interesting. How about Electronium? What do you think about that one?
Oh, probably the same thing. Let's see,
Probably the
exchange.
same thing.
Yeah, I mean,
But most people
it
in the
sounds like something
electronic.
from
Go ahead.
yeah, Electronia. It sounds like something from the Fritz Lang movie Metropolis, right? I like the way they just take all these old sci-fi ones. Like, what do I think of Tron? I think Tron's a great movie. I like Tron. But what do I think of Tron, the
Yeah.
cryptocurrency? I think they owe a lot of money to Disney for taking that name. I'm shocked and horrified that they managed to buy BitTorrent. Of course, BitTorrent is just a company. They didn't get Bram Cohen. So let's see, a mobile cryptocurrency. Again, the first thing I always say is, how does this compare to Bitcoin? Well, it seems like Bitcoin's better. So they've got
Oh yeah.
viral.
I would
They
agree
got
totally on that one. No question about it.
yeah. It looks like they got the scrolly website thing going
Yeah.
on. I like that. It's got the scrolly things. Um, yeah. It's just
Hmm.
another why not Bitcoin? And I don't see any reason why not.
Hmm. So you stick with Bitcoin. You do not deal with altcoins at all.
Not especially. If I would, I would just try to get the top 10 or get a project that's new and makes sense. But just in general, most of these things don't make any sense. So, I
Okay.
mean, it looks great. This is a great looking website, and I'm sure people are working hard on this, but it's kind of like they're junior league scientists, right? They're, if something was going
I
to get
see.
hacked, it's not going to be Bitcoin, right? Because Bitcoin has the best scientists. So if I'm going to bet, I'm betting with the best scientists. So the chat kind of says that the alts are like penny
Bitcoin is
stocks.
gonna eventually replace the fiat dollar. If not replace it, it's gonna be the demand will grow for Bitcoin. No question about that. The fiat dollar has been losing value ever since Nixon removed the gold standard back in the early '70s. So I think it's just a matter of time before the fiat dollar completely collapses.
Exactly. And for me, I just look at Bitcoin and I think it's better money in every possible comparison. So the big thing is for another project to threaten Bitcoin, they have to have this almost immaculate conception, right? Where Satoshi just kind of launches the project and starts working on it, and then he completely disappears, which takes incredible strength, right?
Yeah.
We know nothing like that. To make $1 billion or whatever it is now Bitcoin currency and to completely disappear is just awesome, right? No one else is going to have the strength to do that. So, based upon that, based on the way internet protocols grow, things like TCP/IP that supports the internet, it just kept
Mhm.
getting features added to it. It kept bending but not breaking. And then when I just do the straight up comparison, I say, well, what do young people want? Do they want to go to a bank? Do they want to use an ATM? Are they interested in big, heavy vault doors? Or do they want money
Mhm.
on their phone that's cryptography, right? That's encrypted money.
Yeah.
And I say, well, of course, the young people would want that. So this perfect
Mhm.
storm is coming, and we've already seen Bitcoin in the last 5 years go from like $300 a coin to 20,000, down to 6,000. It's still crazy up from $300 or $100 or whatever it was years ago. And all these
Mhm.
altcoins, they go up, but then they come down. So there is money to be made, and I don't deny that. And I know lots of people that made lots of money real easy on Ethereum and all these other things. And sure, that would have been
Mhm.
nice. I could have had retirement money, but instead, I just kind of stuck with the Bitcoin and made a little bit here and there, paid off my credit cards. and I suggest everybody do that. Try to get out of debt. But no, I
Right.
just think Bitcoin's the one. It's superior to the others. And whenever I have a contest and I look at a new coin, it's so hard for that coin to stack up. And I feel a little bad for these people because they really like their projects and they
Mhm.
really want to support them. And maybe they have good ideas. Like there's this one called Pink Coin, where they printed their own money so that they can help charities. Right? It's a great idea, but it starts out with they printed their own money. And I got into this game to stop people from printing their own money,
Right.
particularly governments, but also individuals and corporations and charities and anybody, right? I just don't think you should make value out of nothing. I think Bitcoin
Right.
is energy and encryption and time, all of these things that give it, an intrinsic value beyond that, and that it's going to replace all money. And yeah, I don't think it's a good idea when people print money. So
I agree. I think that the banking establishment needs Bitcoin as opposed to Bitcoin, and the Bitcoin community needing the banking industry. And it's just the fact that the banking industry has been here for well over 100 years now. Well established, dug in,
mhm.
but objectively, times are changing and the circumstances are changing, regardless of those who are currently in power, whether they like it or not.
Absolutely, and these are the kind of people who like to think that they're invincible. A 100-year bank,
Yeah.
150-year this and that. I mean, stocks and all this thing, it's the strongest thing in the world. So that's why I'm so excited for something like a Bitcoin ETF and, previously the Bitcoin futures markets, because I really believe we're taking that Trojan horse and we're just taking it inside the walls. And they are so confident,
Hmm.
even if there could be men hidden inside that Trojan horse, they don't care. Like they said when the X-wings were attacking the Death Star, a small stunt fighter shouldn't do us any damage. They don't know that there's a secret mistake and that sound money really kind of destroys everything. Sound money changes everything, so you actually have to pay for what you want to buy, and that nothing in our world works that way right now. And if we flip over to that, we stop making things that break. We start making things that last forever. People start really thinking about their purchasing decisions. You don't start buying junk at the checkout stand. I mean, all of these things. And in another way, hopefully it'll lead to clean food and these other ideas that people are having now because we needed to produce so much food and we wanted to produce so much stuff for capitalism
Hmm.
that we're now, we've got piles of terrible food and piles of terrible stuff. So,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's gonna
Yeah.
be
The
interesting.
debt that has been created over the years is astronomical. You know, it's obvious that it's like an anchor that's going to take down the system. And it's just a matter of time now. So, yeah, I see crypto as being obviously relevant and not going anywhere, no matter what the opposing forces do to try to stop it.
That's it. I think, yeah, there's an anchor attached to all of us, and Bitcoin is our flying pirate ship that could take us away from that. And we're going to get out of here, And previously, we had no hope, right? We were just sitting there on the roof, and the flood waters were rising, and we were saying, boy, I sure hope they send a boat or a helicopter or something soon because there's no hope. And then Bitcoin came along. And, not just
Mhm.
people making money and all this ups and downs and all this stuff, which is great. But just in general, this hope for sound money and that Bitcoin is not a pie in the sky idea. It's actual software that does actually what it says. So even if you don't understand software, we can trust at a basic level the rules of Bitcoin will be maintained. And as long as that happens, we can trust our money, which is the first time we've been able to do that since gold and silver, really. And even then, gold and silver supplies fluctuate much more than Bitcoin and are not predictable. Bitcoin structure or supply fluctuations are completely controlled and completely knowable. That's unbelievable. The banks, the governments, the corporations, they've always had something happen where they decide to change their production structure. Bitcoin's production structure, as long as we, keep the coders and everything, can never be changed. So,
Well said. Well, thank you for your time.
And thank you so much for your call. And give us a call anytime.
Okay, have a good one.
All right. A great call. Good stuff to talk about. And you can give us a call right now on Skype World Crypto Network or at 518 600 1949. Getting political out there with the Bitcoin, talking it up. People in the chat want Lambo coin. This altcoin tied to Lambos. Hello, caller. You're live on the World Crypto Network. What's your name and where are you calling from? All right, let's try that again. Give us another call. We had one more that was on hold. Maybe that guy will get through. Wipe out. Hello, caller. You're live on the World Crypto Network. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hey Thomas, it's me, Crip Loco over here in Tijuana again. How are you doing?
Doing good. How are you doing, Crip Loco?
I'm doing great. Last time I called, I was talking about, we were talking about the tension between the political aspect of Bitcoin as something that we promote, and then the investment thesis of Bitcoin. There's a tension there. It's kind of a little bit weird. It gets weird. And we're starting to get to that point. But today what I was thinking about, or this last week, what I've been thinking about is mining. So I had to hang up just a second ago because my things are so loud over here. And so there's this idea that the hash rate follows the price. And so my question is, Bitmain, I don't know if you've ever tried to buy a miner before online.
Oh, come on. I bought a Butterfly Labs miner, man. Why you no ship? Why you no ship?
That's what I'm saying. I mean, there's tons of companies that are saying, oh yeah, well, limited order quantity is, 15 units. And they're like, $5,000 a piece. Who has that kind of money, and why would they put it into something that they don't even know what they're going to get? So my question is the community well connected to the mining aspects? So we all know about investing, and everybody wants to do different techniques of investing. But if you're not connected with the mining, and the mining is what secures the network, and we say that Bitcoin is the strongest network because of the mining, then it seems to me that the community really needs to start getting aware, becoming aware of, not just like, fanboying, like Halong Miner or whatever, just because they're not Bitmain, but to actually embrace the fact that the reason that Bitcoin mining is, to whatever extent is decentralized, is because Bitmain is making hecka miners and sending them out to people, to regular people. So I mean, so to me, I think that there's a real disconnect right now with mining in the community. People talk about mining and all. It's like a talking point now. Like screw Bitmain. Bitmain sucks. Bitmain isn't doing anything for the community. When the reality is that Bitmain is probably one of the only companies out there that is actually responsible for the security of the network, in the sense that I mean, they're doing some shady stuff, don't get me wrong, but I don't know any other company that really is coming up at that scale. Now they're talking about 16 nanometer chips, not being able to get past that. But I mean, it's about the quantity. The quantity of miners flooded in the market right now is all coming from Bitmain. And so if you go on eBay or if you go on their website, I mean, anybody in the world can buy a miner and get it sent to their house. Well, with some caveats, of course, because different jurisdictions are, maybe less, it's maybe not as easy as it is in the States or elsewhere. But the point is that they are the only company really providing the service. Like, you want your miner next week, we will ship it to you. And so the question is, if we want the price to go up, and we want we want the network to be decentralized, who really is working on that? Because the mining hardware predominantly has to come from Bitmain, and once Bitmain releases the hardware, it doesn't matter at that point. I mean, you know, but I see this debate going on where it's just this Bitmain haterism, similar to like the Coinbase thing, where I don't agree with that either. I think Coinbase is a good company, but I'm interested. Yeah, I mean, it's just
Okay, so I think
go ahead.
I think both of these go down the same road. So both Coinbase and Bitmain are what I would describe as bridges, right? These are temporary companies that we need right now. Right now, we need Coinbase because not everyone has Bitcoin. Once everyone in the world has a little bit of Bitcoin, it'll be easier for you to just buy Bitcoin from your friend or from the newsstand or from the 7-Eleven or from anywhere, right? Than to get it from Coinbase. But right now, we need something like Coinbase, which is selling the Bitcoin and taking the credit cards and doing all that kind of work. And sure, Coinbase got all distracted and they're off course. They're going after the altcoin fee reserves and all that stuff. They want the money. So that's why they're pushing all these stupid altcoins and all that kind of thing, because they've just lost their way. But in its core, we needed that service. And in the same way with Bitmain, we needed somebody to take a risk early on Bitcoin miners. And Bitmain did, and they have huge factories in China, and they designed chips, and they did all this work, and they were really ahead of the game, right? But unfortunately, they're both bridges. They're not towers, right? And when Cortez arrived in the New World, he burned his ships, right? He told his people, we are not going back. We are going over these ships as a bridge, and we're burning them behind us. So I think both Bitmain and Coinbase are temporary, powerful companies, and they're incredibly powerful and important right now. But in the future, Coinbase gets eclipsed because Goldman Sachs starts selling Bitcoin directly. Boom, just like that. A huge wave overtook them. Their boat flipped over. Life vests for everybody. I hope you have enough rowboats, right? Just like that. And Bitmain, we're even seeing it to start. Bitmain's a bit of a different thing. Coinbase as well. Both of them kind of know. They kind of know that they're bridges. They kind of know that they're on fire, right? They're not going to last forever. This is their time. That's why they both tried to sabotage Bitcoin. In different ways, they both tried to take over Bitcoin, and they both failed, which is really impressive, really shocking. These are massive companies, incredibly well organized, lots of smart people, and they both completely failed to take over Bitcoin. Bitmain, of course, launched Bitcoin Cash, tried to say Bitcoin Cash is Bitcoin, and now we have their balance sheets. We know exactly how much they lost. They gave up 50,000 real Bitcoins in exchange for 1 million fake Bitcoins. It doesn't matter how many units you get of fake Bitcoins. It's a terrible deal to give up 50,000 Bitcoins. They're having an IPO right now. They're trying to bail themselves out. They're in a very complicated position. We can't just say they're a Bitcoin miner. The same way Coinbase, they tried that SegWit 2x thing. They said, we should go ahead and double the blocks anyway because we feel like it. And they completely lost, right? The New York agreement completely blew up. They lost, despite their size.
Let me leave you. Well, I don't want to take too much of your guys' time because you know, I know that there's other callers, but I just want to I just have this thought, which is that peacocks are an interesting phenomenon in the world, because you know, when you usually see a peacock, they have these big feathers, and the point of the big feathers is that it's a mating strategy that you know, that the males, you know, they put out their feathers, and then you know, the females, I don't know exactly all the details, but the idea is that the feathers is what their mating strategy is. So the question sometimes is, if for people who really look into it, is, well, why are there these little runt peacocks that just can run up behind you know, and get in there? And the question is if the mating strategy of the peacock is to have these feathers, and there are some peacocks around that don't have feathers. How do they come into existence? And the answer is that the peacock, when it unfurls its feathers, it takes a while for it to waddle over to mate with female, and in that time, these little runt peacocks can come in and mate with the female before the male with the big feathers comes in. So the issue is we're seeing this in the Bitcoin space right now. Is that there is kind of this phenomenon where the reason that these runt, let's call them ICOs or whatever, the reason they're able to come in is because they're using the time that they have to get in there and get out, and then they've made their mark and they're off on their merry way. So I see this going on in the Bitcoin space a lot, and it's a totally natural phenomenon. Like I said, it happens in nature. It happens with peacocks. That's why we have runt peacocks, because the runt peacocks come in and they're faster because they don't have all the bells and whistles that a regular peacock would have, and they just mate and get out of there. So my issue is this: is that I think that right now the Bitcoin community is as disconnected as ever from the mining side of things. There's a lot of there's GMO, there's Halong, there's a lot of companies that purport to do things, but in the meantime, Bitmain is that company that's just coming in while everybody else is putting their feathers up and making themselves look all, like they got their, like they're the virtuous mining company. There is no such thing as a virtuous mining company. The mining company any mining company will succeed or fail based on how quickly they can get into the game and get all that stuff out there. And sell off all their gear. That is so there is never going to be a virtuous mining company. So I think the sooner that Bitcoiners start to recognize that and realize that there's never going to be a company, there's never going to be some. I mean, we've seen this in Quebec, we've seen this in China. Nobody really wants miners around. A lot of Bitcoins have already been mined. Not a lot left to be mined. And those Bitcoins that are mined, they're fresh Bitcoins. So that's another thing that people need to be aware of. I mean, every Bitcoiner, if you have one Bitcoin, should buy one miner just to screw around and buy it from Bitmain, because they're going to be cheap. They're going to come to your house a week later, and you don't have to buy 15 of them. But everybody's vilifying Bitmain so much that I think people are missing the point of what this is all about in the first place. And so my thought today was just about Bitcoin mining and its relationship to all of these debates and all these discussions that are going on. I just see so many people just, sort of dogmatically accepting Halong mining or any of these new mining companies that came out and really haven't even proven themselves in the market. Whereas if you go to Bitmain's website right now, I mean, you could get a clock that's gonna mine Litecoin for you. It's not gonna mine a lot. It's not gonna mine a lot of Litecoin, but it'll get you in the network. And I think that a lot of people, I think there just is this aversion to that. And instead there's this narrative going on about the ETF and all these different things. And like I said last time, I think there is definitely a conflict of interest between investing in Bitcoin and investing your mind in Bitcoin in terms of, learning about the tech, because most people don't want to deal with that.
All right. Well, thanks so much for your call. And I think we'll try to talk some more about this minor issue on the show.
Yeah. Okay. Take care.
Thanks so much. And I totally agree with the caller. There is a huge disconnect between Bitcoiners and miners. We had this problem during the scaling debate. No one knew really how to talk to the Chinese miners. We don't speak Chinese. They don't speak English. We're at an impasse, right? We were at a breakdown. No one had any friends who knew those guys. Hello, caller. You're live on the World Crypto Network. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hello, Thomas. This is Michael from Digital Risk, and we're down here in Atlanta, Georgia. I also like to say I appreciate the last caller's question. It really brought in context to the question that I wanted to bring up. And the question was, I'm sorry. The question was, what are some businesses that entrepreneurs can use to help the spread and usage of cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin for the average consumer?
Businesses that you can support or businesses that are functional. I mean, Coinbase certainly is an easy way to buy Bitcoin, or Cash App on your phone. That's a great way to get started using Bitcoin on there. But then from there, I'm not sure where we go with like where you would want to spend Bitcoin and that kind of thing. Most people are just kind of holding Bitcoin or investing it and speculating into altcoins. Were you looking for businesses, or what's on your mind with that? Yeah.
Um, that's a good question. Well, basically, we want to know like what is the best thing that we can get into as far as mining, or say, for instance, you would want to put up an ATM machine somewhere, or anything that can really get the average person who doesn't really care for these type of um, financial instruments, so that an entrepreneur can come in and create a certain avenue to help segue them in. If that,
Sure. I would say it's probably just basic education. People don't know about money. They don't know about the Federal Reserve, and they don't know about Bitcoin or stocks or anything like that. So just basically an education campaign. Everyone wants to get into mining. They think that mining is going to bring them money, like the last caller. But everyone that I know in mining pretty much got wrecked. You barely break even, and it's a very technical game where you always need to be upgrading your miners. So that's I'm not so crazy about mining. Everyone thinks it'll be the easiest thing because it's like plugging in a computer and making money. But in reality, if you just buy Bitcoin with that money and just wait, it will be worth more. Generally, that's always been the case. So a lot of people are just about buying Bitcoin and holding it. And then the other idea is just, yeah, teaching other people to buy Bitcoin and hold it, teaching other people how to use a hardware wallet, getting a hardware wallet for yourself, like a Trezor or a Ledger. These are the level that we're at. We're just so early in this. A lot of people have Bitcoin ATMs, but the thing there is that you have to get like a money transmitter license, and there's a whole legal structure there. So it's not just as easy as buying a computer with a money reader and putting it out on the street. So I think education and going to meetups and just talking to normal people about it, trying to get right now we have lots of libertarians and lots of crypto anarchists and lots of speculation people who just want money. But we need like the normal people to start trying to save their money in this and to buy
right,
dollar cost averaging like $20 a month. Something where they're like, oh yeah, I bought some Bitcoin last year and I don't really worry about it because it's $20 a month. And then in 10 years, if everyone's right on this thing, that $20 a month could really help that person out. So we need a way of getting normal people to have Bitcoin and not to lose it, and then also to be able to pass it down, because maybe they pass away in 10 years and that Bitcoin is lost forever instead of having it passed down to their family. So people just don't have the basic how to hold it, how to buy it, why they should buy it, kind of things taken care of yet.
yeah, okay, thank you so much. Yeah, because I just recently noticed that on the Cash App, they just implemented Bitcoin for whatever reason, I guess, just to let people experiment with it. But it really made me think what would be the best way for an average person just to be able to use these things. But you said education, which is a really good point, and meetups and, huh, I'm sorry, education and meetups. Okay, so
Yep.
so basically what you're saying is the best thing to do is just basically get implemented with average people and see what they think about it and try to teach them about it.
And to use everyone's natural connections for this. If you have a friend that told you about Bitcoin, you would trust it, right? You would give it a try. Whereas if you met a random person on the street, it's going to be much harder. So I'm really talking about things like churches, other groups that people are a part of, like Elks Lodges or meetups or city council. I don't know, any of these like old fashioned kind of groups where people meet and talk about things, where they might give you 5 minutes and go in there and say, hey, I'm here for Bitcoin. I don't even have a company. I'm not even selling anything. I'm just saying Bitcoin's really cool. You might want to try it. You put $20 a month in, just see how it goes. If you did that 5 years ago, you'd have this much now. If you do it 5 years from now, how much will you have? I don't know. It's not a Ponzi scheme and stuff. I mean, there's a lot of hard questions you're going to get. It sounds really easy. It sounds like Bitcoin's this awesome thing and it'll be really easy to go tell people about it, but it's not. People have all kinds of blocks. They've been drawn into all kinds of horrible scams before. And even right now, we're like 70% down in Bitcoin or whatever it is. We're doing, terrible in the last 6 months or last 8 months or whatever. So it could be a tough sell.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I see what you're saying. Alrighty. Well, thank you again for your input, and I really hope that any other young aspiring entrepreneurs or any other young businessmen coming out of college right now can be able to take this advice and help us with the implementation of Bitcoin into society, especially in America or really around the world. It really doesn't matter. But thank you again, Thomas. And if we do have any more questions, we will be calling you.
Thanks again for the call. Give us a call anytime.
All righty. Thank you.
All right, bye-bye. And just like the previous caller was saying, we are completely disconnected to miners. The miners are out there on their own thing. And let's not forget that Bitmain just tried to copy Bitcoin so that they could maintain a 30% advantage when mining Bitcoin thanks to ASIC boost. So we do have a disconnect with miners because the current miners we have are untrustworthy. We know that they will screw over Bitcoin for their own personal gains. Similarly, with Coinbase and all the others who took part in the NY2X, the SegWit2X movement, we know that they will do anything to get control of Bitcoin for their own personal gain. So yes, we're sitting in a room with a lot of untrustworthy people. It's much like the movie Reservoir Dogs, where the criminals are forced to work together and they don't know each other's histories. We all think that the criminals we're with are big, heavy hitters, but we have no idea of their past. We don't want to offend someone that we don't know. So we're all sitting at the table and we're all trying to work together. And yes, I think it's only natural that the Bitcoiners want to replace Bitmain. Bitmain tried to pull off a coup against Bitcoin. They still own 1 million of their Bitcoin coup tokens, right? Roger Ver is on Twitter every day telling people that Bitcoin coup is the real Bitcoin, whereas the actual Bitcoin is not. And we're starting to see the tweets of people being hurt by his policy. Roger isn't supposed to hurt people under the non-aggression principle, under the theories and founders of libertarianism. But when he goes out and masquerades and falsely advertises that Bitcoin Cash is Bitcoin, and people make a purchasing decision that way, he has now deprived them of their ability to properly purchase Bitcoin, or from a larger sense, their ability to purchase what they want. If you ask someone for a bottle of water and they give you a bottle of soda, it is not the same thing. That's not a fair transaction. You have damaged the person by not giving them the water. For all you know, they could be allergic to soda and you just killed them. Roger could have just killed that person's life savings by tricking them into investing into Bitcoin Cash or Bitcoin coup or Bitcoin crap or whatever they're calling it now. He has destroyed their future because of deception. That's the big problem there, is deception. It's not just that they split off and that they think bigger blocks are better, or that Craig Wright has now split off from them and he thinks that Satoshi's vision is something else. And they think they should just increase the block size even though they're not full. You gotta love that, right? Over here on one side, we got the core developers, and they're like, we don't want to add to the block size because it's an airplane and it's flying around the world 24/7, 365, and it midair refueling, it never lands. And we think that adding to the block size will make the thing heavier. It'll make it harder to keep it flying around the world 24/7, 365. And the big blockers are like, nah, just double it now. And the same thing for the SegWit2Xers. Just double it now. Just make it heavier. We need a bigger cargo load right now. No waiting. But then there's they get it, right? And they have these big empty cargo planes flying all around the world. and they're totally empty. And Craig Wright comes along and he says, that big empty cargo plane is not big and empty enough. And he's going to make an even bigger, even more empty cargo plane to fly around the world with nothing in it for no reason. So that's the other side of this coin. That's what's going on the other side. And they also think it's okay just to steal people's names. You have to imagine that Craig Wright will say that his Bitcoin Cash is, of course, the one true and real Bitcoin Cash. I don't even think he has to change the name. I've heard he's going to call it Bitcoin Cash SV, which is beautiful branding and marketing, as the LDS Church will tell you, the Mormons, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. But yes, Bitcoin Cash SV coming soon to a theater near you. And just a reminder that you can join the conversation by calling now to Skype World Crypto Network or to 518-600-1949. Today is Monday, August 20th, 2018. It's just about 10 o'clock on the West Coast or wherever I am, not near the water at all. But still in West Coast time, it's 10 o'clock. Let's see what's going on in the chat. Oh, don't lie to yourself. You all wish that Roger was your dad. He is pretty cool about the fireworks, gotta say. They need more money to hold up the Bcash price. Isn't he a billionaire? Why does he need money to appear on YouTube? That's pretty strange. Oh, babies are dying and being sold to the Bitcoin coup. Last time Thomas invited Roger, he refused because there wasn't enough money in it for him. No, that's not true. Roger has never refused an interview on this show. I talked to him a while ago during the Bitcoin scaling debate. I tried to get Roger's side of the story. If you watch that video, you really should understand what Roger's talking about. Basically, he had some wallets with a lot of transactions in, and to get those wallets emptied and take that money out, he would have to pay a fee on each one of those transactions. And the fees for him were too damn high. That was it. That was really all I really took from the Roger argument, is that the fees were too damn high and that he needed to consolidate those addresses and to make them into smaller fees, and that he didn't want Bitcoin to change, and that the fees already had changed. And it was funny, he was much more like a conservative than a libertarian, right? A conservative is a person who likes the past, who likes things the way they are and doesn't want them to change. But we're talking about Bitcoin here, right? We're talking about software. It's movable anyway. It changes all the time. Sometimes there's mistakes in software. Sometimes there's new features, and it's exciting and new. So yeah, you can go back and check out on the Mad Bitcoins channel my interview with Roger Ver from the scaling debate. I would invite Roger on again today, but I just don't know what that would accomplish. I mean, I think we've all seen John Carvalho, Bitcoin Error Log. He's got a great interview with Roger. And if you haven't seen it, you've certainly seen the end where Roger rage quits and gives a big middle finger to the screen, which of course you got to realize is giving the middle finger to all of us. And it became a huge meme. And they even printed like 3D printed bobbleheads with Roger flipping off the world, and Johnny Cash t-shirts with Roger flipping off the world. So I mean, not that I would try to do that to Roger, but the things he's done are so offensive to Bitcoin at this point in time. When I talked to him last time, it was before they forked off and before all of his ridiculous Bitcoin Cash is the real Bitcoin and all these kind of nonsensical statements. Given that he's done all that, it would be very hard to be appropriately polite to Roger Ver. And it's sad. It's sad because Roger's done a lot of good things for Bitcoin, and I value his contributions in the past. And certainly he bought Bitcoin early and he took a big risk on it, and it's pretty impressive and everything. But he also bought Bitcoin Cash early and he took a big risk on it, and it's not impressive at all. So it's unfortunate. Let's see. What do we think about BlockNet? Don't know what that is. Flip Roger off. Oh yeah, see, I know Roger will probably expect my invitation, but again, what am I going to do? Have a big negative interview with Roger? Maybe. It's always the Roger interview was and is it's similar to the Andy Hoffman interview. I see a friend going in the wrong direction, and I say, "Friend, why are you doing that?" And in Andy Hoffman's case, I think it came down to Andy isn't interested in open source software. That's not a major decision point for him. He hasn't really researched it thoroughly. He's not involved in it. Yeah, he didn't study it. So for him, that's kind of a blind spot, and he can't see the difference between Bitcoin Rhodium and real Bitcoin. And he knows the difference, but there's something about the value proposition of Bitcoin Rhodium that it's a scarce unit that kind of fits with, for lack of a better word, Andy's kind of gold bug, silver bug sentiment that it's this limited number of units, and he thinks it'll be valuable, or he's completely being paid, and he was kind of dishonest when he said he wasn't being paid. So with Roger, it's the same thing where Roger completely believes that Bcash has more units, or sorry, has bigger blocks, and that it's better and all that, blah, blah, blah. And he believes it religiously, and he believes it fervently. So I'm never going to be able to convince him otherwise, right? It's not going to be a productive exercise. But in the same way, if we analyzed it enough, maybe Roger's being paid, right? Maybe Roger lost all his money. Maybe Roger needs this money. Maybe even worse, if we want to think darker thoughts, maybe Roger's being coerced. Maybe Roger's being punished. So no, yeah, they're saying no. Andy Hoffman's not into BCH. You're making a false comparison there. No, he's way into. The thing is that what I like about Andy is he's still way into Bitcoin. If you listen to his shows, if you read his articles, he's all about Bitcoin. So it's totally fine that Andy has a favorite altcoin, and it happens to be Rhodium or whatever. I don't care at all. Just in the same way, if Roger Ver was still all about Bitcoin, and Roger Ver was like, "Oh, I think that Bcash is my favorite altcoin," I'd be like, "Well, that's kind of reasonable," because obviously he still acknowledged everything basically has to. Yeah, I know. I don't know how to say vipers, wipers. I don't know. I could never say that right. I almost skipped it entirely. If you can't pronounce it, just don't say it. But no, yeah, Roger. You have to say Bitcoin's number one. I know it's kind of Bitcoin maximalist and you have to tip your cap to the king or something like that. It's very anti-libertarian. But until we all agree that Bitcoin's number one, I don't think that we're going to get anywhere finding out who number two is, so on and so forth. There'll always be people saying, "Oh, Bitcoin's the number two." No, it's number one. Let's see what's going on in the chat. Someone says Zach is smart. He's 90% in Bitcoin. He don't believe in alts, but he's got 10% in straight up gambling. That's it, right? I think Father Mayhem has a good point. He says Coinbase is convenient, like McDonald's. People using local Bitcoins for large amounts are getting arrested. What are you going to do? And he's right. Coinbase right now is incredibly necessary. It's too hard to get someone to give you, say, $10,000 for your Bitcoin. Think about it. Even if you met at the bank or whatever, even if you met at the coffee shop, and even then, 10,000 is a magic number for the KYC money laundering thing. So you might want 9,000, et cetera, et cetera. Not giving advice, but I'm just saying it's very hard to buy and sell a large amount of Bitcoin money-wise. Unless you use Coinbase, unless you use Cash App, unless you use something that links directly to your bank account, obviously creating a record, and then allows you to transact without having to, carry cash around and all those things. But now they're saying, of course, you can always get other apps and they can do it for you, and you can go meet somebody. But again, who wants to meet somebody for 10,000 or whatever? It just doesn't seem right. Yep, Coinbase is the McDonald's of crypto. Everyone claims to hate it and nobody goes there, but yet they have millions of customers served. That's right. And still, I don't think we need them forever. And I think that when they make these strange decisions like not liking the Bitcoin community and being big fans of Ethereum and all these other nonsense, they make a mistake long term. Short term, they do fine, but long term, they make a mistake. Let's see. Credit cards powered by the Lightning Network will come eventually, but they wouldn't be credit. Credit implies borrowing, debt. We don't have any debt unless people have debt. They think Jihan is an arrogant a-hole. But let's also remember Jihan, I think he's like 34, and he's obviously a billionaire. And he's shepherded this company, Bitmain, to truly incredible heights. Even if they did take a bath on the Bcash and make a terrible decision there, everything they did before that is pretty impressive, as opposed to Butterfly Labs, who dealt with the Bitcoin mining problem by not shipping their Bitcoin miners. A little bit better off with Bitmain. They at least ship the miners, as the last caller was saying. You can buy a miner, Bitmain will ship it to you. Sure, like people have said in the chat, that it's 2 years old. It's a 2-year-old S9 chip, so it's not very good. And then we were talking about peacocks, and Chaotic Crypto was just watching a peacock video on Instagram. It's all connected, people. It's all connected. And yep, the peacocks need Viagra. And let's see, Michael says getting too old for this shit. Let's see what else is going on. Zach had problems with Coinbase. He said that they were frozen. His funds were frozen. He was double charged, and he tried to get 5 Bitcoin for $4,000, but instead lost his money for 6 months. So there have been problems with Coinbase in the past. They've gotten a lot better recently, and also they've gotten a lot bigger, right? Michael says maximalists are really minimalists. That seems fair. We want Bitcoin. We want the uh, least number of features that continues to solve the problem, right? Any unnecessary feature like tail fins or wings or, speed holes or, that kind of stuff, just adding to the car for no reason. We don't want any of that. We're not looking for chrome bumpers here. We're looking for useful and lighter, probably carbon fiber bumpers, right? Bitmain hasn't failed. They have huge hash power. They haven't failed yet. And I do pretty much hate to say it, but yeah, I think the IPO will probably raise the money. Although there was that report this morning. We didn't talk very much about the news, but let's pull up the old Mad Bitcoin's Twitter account. Good place to figure out what's going on with Bitcoin. And I heard something. Here it is. It's from Samson Mao, as well as BTC King 555. And they say, breaking, Bitmain insider says Jihan and team just revised down the year budget from a revenue of $8 billion down to $3 billion. And he questions, has this been disclosed to investors? So it does seem like there may be problems within Bitmain. Anyone buying into the IPO is essentially buying a sinking ship. But there's a lot of people who like investments like that and believe that Bitmain, its power and its sense of place in the community, will somehow be able to stay. Really, right now, I think it's a race to the new mining chips. If Bitmain can release a new chip, they'll probably continue to hold their position. But if one of these new mining companies is able to produce a successful chip that's faster than the Bitmain chip, then they could be in real trouble. But once again, they are a giant. They are a Goliath. Like, even if they fall over, they're going to fall down on a bunch of other stuff. So it's going to be a mess either way. Whether the giant walks through your city and smashes everything up, or whether the giant gets sick, dies, and falls over, and smashes all your stuff. It's not great to deal with giants. But it's 10:12 a.m. and we're accepting calls here on the World Crypto Network. It's Monday morning on August 20th. Uh, my own message is held for review. That's great. But you can join the conversation by calling us now on Skype at World Crypto Network or at 518-600-1949. And we'll try to keep this show going. We have 165 live viewers, asking you all to give us a thumbs up and a share. That will help more people find the show. You can also tweet about us. That's another great way to deliver the good news of the World Crypto Network. And we did yesterday's comments. They were very good, some of them very long. I think Jose had a comment in there somewhere. Not sure where that went. It should be there. Maybe it's on a different video. But as always, it's great when you guys comment and participate on these videos. After they load, after Google renders them, the comment section does open up, and it's a great place to have a discussion with people who know how to have a discussion. And it's great to have discussions where you can disagree with people and still be friends, right? That's what we used to do all the time. Even in Congress, people would disagree and then they would make a bill together. Hello, caller. You're live on the World Crypto Network. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Good morning, Thomas. This is Joe in Wyoming. How can you hear me?
I can hear you good. How's it going, Joe?
Oh, okay. I don't have my my earplugs and all that kind of stuff. So
Sounds good. What's on your mind about Bitcoin this morning?
the good thing about giants is you can see them coming, and you can feel their footsteps when they're coming towards you. I think the good thing about Bitcoin is, and you mentioning giants and scammers and stuff, you can tell how good a project is sometimes by how many scammers it attracts. And I'm wondering where you think mining is going, because I'm seriously considering getting a mining rig.
Well, I definitely agree with you. I think Bitcoin's a popular project and it attracts a lot of scammers. That's definitely true, and it attracts a lot of copycats. I was watching a video that was showing the growth of the Bitcoin network and also the growth and size of the altcoins network. And the Bitcoin was a big orange circle, and all these little green dots started to form on the edge of the circle. And then the green dots got bigger and bigger, and then they got smaller and smaller, and then they got bigger and bigger. And you could just see it looked like there was a parasite growing on the side of Bitcoin. There was a copycat. There was a something that's similar and not as good and not better. But quicker, easier, cheaper, flashier, all these things that don't matter. It had those in spades. So yeah, I think we definitely went through that. Not sure about the mining. I mean, once again, all of my friends who ever bought miners back in the day tell me they're like, if I had just put the money I spent on mining into Bitcoin and just held it, I would have so much more. So that continues to be true unless you got a source of free energy, unless you live next to a hydroelectric dam or in one of these towns where they've got free energy. Even then, it's very difficult. A lot of miners end up mining to pay for their electricity, and then they don't even end up with any Bitcoin. Whereas my strategy, where you just buy some Bitcoin and hold it, at least you'll always have that amount of Bitcoin. So.
Well, I agree with that, and I wish I had just held the Bitcoin that I originally purchased, but I got sucked into the altcoins and all the flash and the hoopla, and I lost probably about 40% of it. Still ahead, but I lost about 40% of it, and so like I said, I'm waiting for 5, and when it hits 5, I'm gonna make another substantial injection, and that will hold. That will go in paper wallets or cold storage. So becoming more.
I think we're losing.
You have to remember, people will buy scams even after you tell them it's a scam, and show them it's a scam, and convince them it's a scam. They'll still buy a scam.
That they will. It's disappointing. It's frustrating. I watch them. I watch them plug their quarters into the slot machines at the casinos, and sure, some of the games are okay, blackjack or craps or maybe roulette, right? But these slot machines are just terrible odds, every single one of them, and yet they're just there like workers, like plugging away. Like I'm gonna work this machine till I win, and they're not involved in it at all. So I just think it's horrible the way people make their purchasing decisions. And we're fortunate Bitcoin teaches us to save. So if you can put an amount of money that doesn't, damage your bottom line, and you can really just put it aside, not worry about it, that's the way to go with Bitcoin. So.
Well, remember, when you leave this planet, you're not taking any more with you than you came in with. So, all right, I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.
All right. Thanks for the call, Joe. Give us a call anytime. And he's absolutely right. You only take out, what you brought in. And it's best to have a plan for your Bitcoin. If you're going to hold it long, have a plan. Make sure to write down your passphrases and your keys somewhere. You would think you would remember your passphrases. I didn't remember my passphrases. I had some cold wallets that were locked up for several years, and I went back to them, and I was like, "Uh-oh. Good thing I wrote these down. I would have been doing a lot of guessing." Not so much fun guessing your passphrase. I haven't had one where I managed to type the passphrase wrong twice, and then somehow I managed to guess the correct permutation of the passphrase. So be very careful when you're backing your Bitcoin away, and have a plan. Don't be like that Ripple guy who died with like $500 million, a fortune that he didn't pass down to his family. And even if you don't have kids, you have somebody in your family that would be better off having $500 million than having it just completely disappear. So have a plan for it and invest reasonably. Like we've been saying here, $20 a month, $20 a week, maybe for some people, maybe more. But just have a dollar cost averaging strategy where, let's say, like right now, Bitcoin's about 6,400. You'd buy $100 worth. And then next week, say Bitcoin's 6,000, you'd buy $100 worth. And next week, Bitcoin's 5,000, you'd buy $100 worth. And now those three can be averaged out so that your price 6,400, 6,000, and 5,000, you add them together. So that's like 11, 17. Then you divide by three. That's around 6,000. So your average price would be around 6,000. Hello, caller. You're live on the World Crypto Network. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hey, Thomas, it's Dan from Grand Rapids. How you doing today?
Doing good. How's it going, Dan?
Good. Hey, I was inspired to start up a Lightning node after I saw your video on setting yours up.
Nice. How'd it go?
Not so great. I don't have as much Linux experience as I think you do.
See, and people are giving me a hard time. I'm getting all kinds of, you didn't follow the instructions, you raced through it. And I'm like, yeah, I definitely raced through it. They put me on a clock. It was a 10-minute timer, and I got pretty close.
You did an amazing job.
Well, where did you get hung up? What happened with yours?
Well, I actually got hung up trying to set up the server, believe it or not.
The part I didn't do on TV.
Right. Yeah, that was part of it, because I went out to DigitalOcean and I was like, SSH key. What the hell is an SSH key, and how do I do
Oh
that?
yeah, they made that way too hard. Okay,
well, and then I thought, okay, it says you need more than 200 gigs available, but the basic one didn't have 200 gigs. I thought, okay, well, I just got to add storage to that. So then it said it didn't auto mount and you have to mount it yourself. And I thought, I don't know how the hell to do that. So it feels like we need a tutorial for the tutorial to just get the server up and running. And then I realized the $5 a month is really only for the base thing. And then the extra storage is going to cost a little bit more. And then I also realized that I have an old Raspberry Pi sitting around, and I wondered if I could do the whole thing on Raspberry Pi. So I'm wondering, and I'm hoping that soon, like, I don't know, in the next couple of months or so, somebody super smart will set up an easier way to do that. Like, even if I had a small image for the AWS platform or something like that, where I could just load an image and have, I don't mind the monthly charge, even if it's like $10 or something, or whatever it might be. I just thought it would be totally worth it just for the fun of having a Lightning node and seeing how it works. And plus, I also realized, and I don't know if this is true or not, But do you know, can multiple people share a single Lightning node?
Yes, I think they can. I think the one in my video you might be able to attach to. I don't want to spread that idea, but yeah, that one. And again, I'm in for $5 a month for like 2 months, and then that thing's going away. So I don't know how much damage they could do with it.
But
But
I
yeah,
have a group of friends that, even if it were like $20 a month, there's 5 or 6 of us that are all in a Slack group that I'm sure people would be like, yeah, I'll push in $5 a month for a Lightning node, no problem, and just share it.
and they're all saying in the chat that you can do a Raspberry Pi, and you can have the Bitcoin network. You can have a Lightning node on there. You can attach kind of like a hard drive or a flash drive or something to a Raspberry Pi. That's one way
Okay,
you could do it. Also,
well,
you
I'll
could
have to look
buy
into that as well.
Bitseed, who seems to refuse to respond to me on Twitter. They have a node you can buy that's a Bitcoin node, but I'm not sure it comes with a Lightning Network node. So they need to upgrade that. Everyone in the chat saying Raspberry Pi is a good way to go. But for right now, just to talk about this DigitalOcean droplet, what
Yeah.
I ended up getting was right here. I got the $5 a month one, so I'm not sure what you're saying that you need more disk space or whatever. Basically, I created a light Lightning node by following these instructions. I don't think that it downloaded the whole blockchain. Uh,
Okay, because right on the top of the instructions it says a hard drive greater than 200 gigs.
Yeah, it's way down in here. It's now you can decide whether you'd like to run LND paired with your own Bitcoin node, or if you'd like to run LND in its light client mode. And again, since I'm running a testnet Lightning node network and it's just purely for testing all those kind of things, I'm running it as a light node uh, here in these
Okay.
instructions. So yeah, first I would just get this $5 one. Then,
Yep.
as it says here, you can follow the guide here, but a lot of it talks about how you should load your own SSH key, and that's pretty confusing for people who don't have that. So what I ended up doing was following these instructions here to connect your droplet with OpenSSH on Linux or Mac OS. And what you end up doing is this command here. Oops, it's not showing. There it is. SSH username at your IP. What that does is that gets you in as kind of a temporary account. And once you get in, it'll ask you to change the password. So I didn't have to do like this SSH. I don't have a private key right now, and the fingerprint, all this stuff. It just kind of happened, and then it started asking me for the password right here. It just said roots password, and then I was able to change the password and kind of own the server. And once it was my server, then I just started installing all this stuff and following the instructions.
I see. Okay, well, I'm going to give it another shot.
All right, sounds good. Let me know how it goes, and thanks for trying it out. We're going to be trying out the Open Dime little USB sticks sooner than later. I got a
Oh, I've
handful of
got 3
those.
of those, and they are very cool.
It
I
seems
have
pretty cool. I want to try it out. Yeah.
I have yet to load them. I'm a little bit nervous because I don't know. Obviously the point is that you don't know the private key.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
So other than having some Bitcoin on exchanges and Coinbase, I've always owned my own private key. And I'll tell you what, I believe the whole reason that I started down the it being inspired by you getting your own node and things like that was the day that I got my own. I got my Trezor, and I loaded my Bitcoin onto my Trezor that I owned, and I had the passphrase for. Was really an eye-opening experience for me because you have a different emotional connection to your Bitcoin than you do when you have it on an exchange. When you have it on exchange, it's value that sits on an account, and it feels a lot like Linden dollars or gold from World of Warcraft or something like that. But once you have it in your own possession, like I say, you just have a different emotional attachment to it, and you just feel the power of the whole thing, and you go, wow, this is mine, and I own that, and the responsibility of going, gee, I really got to make sure that I don't put this passphrase in my wallet. So if my wallet gets stolen, my Bitcoin's gone. Like it's you have to start thinking about that stuff. It's not just a password to a website anymore. And I think that getting my own Lightning node will change my relationship to the idea of Lightning. And once I use it for the first time, that'll be very enlightening. um, and it'll be like, wow, this is amazing. This is really amazing. So I'm really looking forward to getting my own node up and running.
It sounds great. Definitely go for it. And it was amazing the first time that you held your own Bitcoin private keys in a paper wallet or a Trezor or a Ledger. And they're really yours then. And if you screwed up, uh, you would completely lose the private
Yeah.
keys. You know, it would be completely gone. All of your money would be gone.
Yeah.
Uh,
So that's what makes me nervous about the open dime is that I am now just such a weirdo about it. I'm like, I don't have those private keys. If and with open dime, it's the whole point. If that thing gets run over by a car, your Bitcoin's gone. You cannot get it anymore because that's the idea of it. It's something that you can pass to another person, and that other person knows that the passer can't extract the Bitcoin after they've handed it off. So it makes me a little bit nervous. I don't think I put anything over $100 on the thing. But then again, if it was hey, I'm buying a car from somebody, that might be a different story where I'm willing to do it, to load it on, to do a one-time handoff. And that way you don't have to worry, you don't have to wait for confirmations, you don't have to do all this, gee, I gotta feel like I gotta wait for 6 confirms. They could just stick it in their laptop or I think they're coming out with a reader. Stick it in the reader and go, yep, it's got this number of Bitcoins. I can feel 100% confident that it does. I'll take it home, crack it open, and get the private key.
Yeah, the part I'm not sure about is if Open Dime is just holding all of these private keys. How are these private keys generated and put on the
Yeah.
device? Because yeah, I
Well,
could be sending, internal hacker could say today's the day I'm seizing all the Open Dimes. So
yeah, and I think too that people talk about this being a trustless ecosystem, and it's not because most people will not go into the open source and look at the open source repo, and I know I don't have that kind of knowledge to look through that stuff. So you do have to trust reliable parties to know that they're going to be reliable, but I think that's okay because it doesn't have to be trustless. It just has to be minimal trust. Just like if you have a wallet on your phone, you have to trust the wallet creator. If you have a Trezor, you have to trust the same thing in Trezor is that, yeah, you're generating the private key, but how do you know it's not calling home? And analysis has been done to make sure that it's not, and people have vetted the software. But still, you have to then trust the people that vet the software. So there is a little bit of trust that has to go into this ecosystem. I don't think trust less is probably quite the right term, but it's a lot closer than anything else we have right now.
that's right. And trustless is like our goal. It's I used to do this
Right.
martial art where they said we want to be like you want to be a black belt, but black is impossible. Black is only achieved through death. So our top belt was midnight blue, which is really close to black, but not quite black. So
My instructor used to say black belt is actually when you've become a first level student.
that's it. It's all about studying. It's all about like diligence of learning, and you can learn anything. It's amazing. I didn't think I could learn martial arts at all, and then I learned it pretty good. It was pretty cool.
Yeah. All right, Thomas, I'm out of here.
All right. Thanks so much for the call. Give us a call anytime.
All right, thanks.
All right. And you can go ahead and give us a call right now on Skype at World Crypto Network or at 518 600 1949. And we're just keeping track of the chat here on Bitcoin Talk Show. It's around 10:30 a.m. on Monday, August 20th. We've got about half an hour left in the show. We could probably fit in 2 or 3 more calls if you call right now. There it is. Hello, caller. You're live on the World Crypto Network. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hello, my name is Alex from Toronto.
All right, Alex, what's on your mind about Bitcoin today?
Bitcoin is pretty nice. Just I wish I just hold on to my Bitcoin because I had some teachers that told me to mine Bitcoin, and I just wasted it back in the day.
But it was fun to waste it though, because you got some goods and services out of nothing, right? So it's not that bad.
Yeah, I kind of treated it like swag bucks.
Fair enough. I remember we all wish we'd done differently in the early days of Bitcoin. We all think that we would just have held it forever, but I think we both know when the price doubled, we would have spent it all. When the price doubled, we would have thought we were the best investors in the world who got free money, and we would have bought a nice car or something that wouldn't last. I know I have a sticker on my old car that's worth around zero point 0.2 Bitcoin, and my old car is worth less than $500. So that sticker did not hold value for me. But still, I enjoyed spending the Bitcoin and buying the sticker. So it goes, right? We just got to do better the next time, huh?
For sure, for sure. Yeah, I've just called in just to say thank you very much for what's called providing these videos on YouTube. Been watching for a long time, and keep doing what you got to do.
All right, thanks for a call, and good luck in the future, Alex. Just hold the Bitcoin you have, and we'll see how it goes. So,
Yeah, to the moon.
to the moon. Thanks so much. Give us a call anytime. And you can call us now on Skype, World Crypto Network, all one word, or at 518-600-1949. Remember, the callers are first come, first serve. So if somebody gets on the line, we've got to give them a chance to talk, and then we'll get going with another call when there's time. So Jeremy says he wish he had sold his house when it was $70. He wish he'd lived in a cardboard box. And I definitely had the same thoughts around the time it was $70. I thought about getting a second and all those kind of things. Hello, caller. You're live on the World Crypto Network. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hi, my name's Jeff, and I'm from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
All right. What's on your mind about Bitcoin today?
Just listening to the show, and I couldn't agree more with everybody. I didn't get sucked into a lot of mining stuff with the early Bitcoin, which I kind of got a little bit in 2016. But all the altcoins, and if I just had everything back to do over again, I'd be way ahead if I'd have just held my Bitcoins.
That's true, and it's also hard to even hold your bitcoins. You get all this fear that you're going to lose all the money that you've made, and you want to realize some gains, so you move them into USD. And I know every time I sell, the thing goes up in price, and every time I buy, it goes down. I'm accepting this, but it's still unfortunate. Keep hitting it wrong. But even now, people say it might go down to 5,000, and then it'll ratchet right back up. And it takes a lot of faith to take that ride and to try to sell the top and buy the bottom and all that kind of thing.
Yeah, I'm over trying to guess the top and bottom, and I've been lucky. At each check, I'd maybe get 200 this week. I was able to get 400 another week, or nothing for a month, and then $500 and accumulate it and get it off. And as the last caller said, it was so exhilarating to get it off everything and onto a Trezor, which kind of I'm not real real great at computers, so I'm a little nervous about that too. Not
Sure,
knowing it has a private key versus a paper wallet.
well, the main thing about the Trezor is just to remember that list with your magic words on it, that is your key. So as long as you have that, you're good to go. You can always buy another Trezor or buy another hardware wallet and load your key onto there. But if you lose that key with the words, or if someone takes it from you or has it, that's a real problem. You just got to keep control of those words.
Yeah, we got those. My wife also has one. So, but hey, I got a kind of question, because the Roger Ver thing. Not to beat up on Roger, or take either side, but he onboarded me with the Bitcoin gospel. I called a while back. I think I was in Bradenton with you and Max on the phone. And he onboarded a lot of people. But what I don't get is, why does he need to push Bitcoin Cash if he already got Bitcoin Cash, or buy it? It's like we got it on the split if you had any offline at the time. So it's free. Just like Adam Meister says, why would you buy it? It's free. So shouldn't they have all this Bitcoin Cash already? What are they hurting for? What's the problem? And he claims he still has his Bitcoin. I don't watch that many videos, but the ones I have, Roger still claims he has his Bitcoin. And I mean, if he got all that free Bitcoin Cash, what's the problem?
Oh, there's there's no problem, but he's telling people to sell their Bitcoin and to buy Bitcoin Cash, and he's telling people that Bitcoin Cash is Bitcoin, which is a consumer fraud problem where you sell one product and say it's another product. That's not legal. Um,
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
it's
the
just
part
it's
I have trouble understanding. As good as Bitcoin has been to him, and the Bitcoin gospel onboarded me, and that, when I give people a dollar, I tell them, watch, the only thing I ask for the free, I'll give them $1 Ether, Litecoin, whatever's on Coinbase carried at the time.
Mhm.
They just watch that and give them a little introduction to it.
Sure, and Roger was great at that, and he did a lot of great work back in the day, and I definitely appreciate his contributions. And I feel the same as you did. If Bitcoin made me ridiculously rich, you wouldn't see me going around saying bad things about Bitcoin, even if I fell in love with Litecoin. And I was like, I
Exactly.
thought, and I'm saying all the time, Litecoin is so good and all this stuff. I wouldn't be like saying Bitcoin's no good. I'd be saying, yeah, I made a fortune on Bitcoin. I got love for that. I mean, even there are people that call up, they said they did well on BitConnect, and it has a warm place in their heart because they made money. Everyone else lost their shirt. But, if you're the one that made money on the thing, you always love it. For Roger to hate Bitcoin so much and to hate the developers and to hate the people and all this stuff is just the strangest thing. So
Yeah, I just can't get that. Me and my wife were just talking about it. We were listening to you maybe about 45 minutes ago, and they said, it's hard to hate Roger because he got us into this, and we're so fortunate that we get it. At this early stage. I mean, we're not rich, but we're not poor. But just even having a few, you are so far ahead of everybody else that's offline and protected. It's crazy. It's just the key is holding them because we've got you're easily convinced to spend them in the beginning, when it was just this magic internet money that was doubling. But the thing, my aha moment came when, like JM Bullion, the gold and silver place, the real money people that I've been getting stuff, on and off for years, take Bitcoin. That was my aha moment. Why do they want this imaginary money that's growing in our phones? So we used it. But now I see why. That half a tube of silver dollars is still worth around $500, and that 4/10 of a Bitcoin I used is, what's that worth? $5,000 now. That's almost half a Bitcoin. So my advice to anybody coming on board would just be buy and hold it. Just hold it, get it off and hold it. Don't fall for all the other ones, the Ethers. Now, how do you feel about Litecoin? Just a little bit. Do you buy the silver gold? It's silver to Bitcoin's gold.
No, I've never bought that. I think it's a super clever marketing statement. Originally, we used to call Litecoin Bitcoin's quarter because it had 4 times the units of Bitcoin, so it should be worth a quarter of a Bitcoin. Um, but that didn't happen. Obviously, it's not 25% of a Bitcoin. But no, Litecoin had a fair launch. Charlie Lee told everybody about it. He didn't mine it beforehand, all that kind of stuff like everyone else did. He didn't have a pre-mine. He didn't have a founder's reward, all these things. So it had a real nice and fair launch. It's on a different hashing algorithm or whatever than Bitcoin. So it was interesting for a while. And there was a point there during the scaling wars where we needed Litecoin as a secondary test net that we could put SegWit on. We already had SegWit on the Bitcoin testnet. So, from a testnet perspective, we're good. But people wanted a public implementation of it running. They wanted to feel really safe about it. And remember that the other side was having a disingenuous argument where they were just trying to extend the argument so that they could keep running ASIC boost and mine at a 30% advantage every day. So Litecoin was useful during that period. And that was about it. I mean, there's all this talk now that Litecoin's going to be used by merchants. And I tell you, it's the same chicken and egg problem that Bitcoin has. No one has any Bitcoins. No one has any merchants. Or if you have any merchants, you don't have any customers. I don't think that they're going to be able to solve both sides of that equation. It's kind of cute that they're buying a bank. It's obviously very centralized. If they're buying a bank or merging with a bank or whatever, there's some kind of Litecoin foundation out there claims to be running things now. I don't know. It's just very, very questionable. It certainly it went up and against Bitcoin and all these things, and people get comfortable because it's the second place coin or whatever. But then Ethereum is the second place coin. They beat Litecoin for a while there. So it's tough with all these alts. You just want to buy them early, sell them when they're up, and then that's the way to deal with it. But I don't know what they actually do as far as doing things.
Yeah, the tough part's knowing when they're up or when's a good time to sell. But and not in defense. I mean, I think Bitcoin and everything else is an altcoin. Correct? That's where the altcoin came from.
That's pretty much it. Yeah, Bitcoin is the backbone. It's the world's money. It's sound money. It solves the actual problem, and it actually needs a blockchain to solve the problem. So it's the only true blockchain, the only true money, and until it fails, that's what it's going to be.
Yeah, so it's definitely the most stable store of value. I agree. I have, I'm a gold and silver bug like Andy Hoffman. That's not, I you know what I mean? And I liked your interview with him because I was kind of surprised with him with his other altcoin, the B whatever he was talking about rhodium.
Yeah.
That kind of surprised me that, but you got on him for that. But, and now when I give everybody $1, say I give you $1 Bitcoin, $1 Ether, Ethereum Classics just on. So I was only giving $3 out to people, The Litecoin, I would give them last $1 Litecoin. It would actually clear my phone the fastest, and it's always a penny.
Oh, sure.
The other ones, they'd get their Bitcoins. I paid up to $2 to give somebody $1 Bitcoin once, but that's okay because I'm spreading, the knowledge. I think that
sure.
I feel pretty blessed I got in what I did. So, but Litecoin always.
You're incredibly generous to give them You're generous to give them one of each of the alts. That's a really nice thing. Most people just give you $1 in Bitcoin or $1 in whatever they believe in, that kind of thing. So it's nice of you.
Well, it's just to let them see, to just get their feet wet, but I always let them know. But if you're going to buy any, then one guy asked me, a towel guy on the job in Tampa asked me, so, I got $100. What are you going to buy? I said, I put 80 in Bitcoin and 10 in 10 and 10 in Ethereum, 10 in Litecoin. Mm-hmm. Really? And he wanted us to do, 50, 25, 25. I wouldn't.
No.
I really wouldn't. And then this was before we got our Bitcoins, before the Bitcoin Cash split. So, and then there's the B Gold, which, fits on a paper wallet. Who knows what that's going to be in a couple of years when you download it.
Sure.
It could be 15 coins. If you just leave that one Bitcoin, do its thing.
Well, that has happened to the early paper wallets or those Cassatius coins. If they're from the original Bitcoin, they have all the forks with them. So you can say, hey, this is a Bitcoin and it is all those other forks.
Well, we went to Alaska and I said, well, I'll sell our first one. And Coinomi let me just take that paper wallet, the Bitcoin Cash, the Bitcoin Gold, which was nothing, worth nothing. And I think Bitcoin Private was like $2. But nevertheless, that was 3 more Bitcoins than I had when I loaded that for free. And, and Bcash is a decent chunk of change. It's almost what we paid for the Bitcoin originally.
It was a pretty sweet crypto dividend, as they call it, getting that free money from the Bcash. Yeah, I definitely got I got a laptop. Still works. It's pretty cool.
Well, hey, you keep up the good work. I know you're about ready to wrap it up. Have a great day.
All right. Thanks so much for the call. Give us a call anytime.
All right.
All right. We've got some interesting super chats in the chat. I don't know if this is Robex World's real account or if he's been hacked or kind of lost his mind, but he's sending us random super chats. He sends us $2 to get the caller's thoughts on Monster Energy Zero Ultra. It sounds like a Monster Energy drink, but instead of having sugar, it's got some kind of a chemical fake sugar. I advise everyone to stay away from high caffeinated drinks like Monsters and Red Bulls. It's not a good idea for your heart. And it also kind of gets you addicted to them and addicted to feeling all pumped up and everything. Better to generally avoid caffeine is my current recommendation. I tried coffee. I was into tea for a while. I was certainly into soda for a while. Soda is the most fattening thing you can drink. So if you want to be fat, drink soda. If you want to be thin, just drink water every single time. Every single restaurant, drink water. Water is the thing. And Robex explaining in the chat that he's actually just a fan of Monster Energy Zero Ultra. I wonder if he has what flavor. Does he have the white one? I like that white one or the green one or the orange one. But they always drink like chemicals. I've had like the Mountain Dew energy drink and the Red Bull one, and they're always kind of like a chemical syrupy soup. And then you are charged up all day and you're Red Bull ready to go. I love that movie Yes Man with Jim Carrey. You guys should check it out. It's all about changing your life and doing positive things. But there's some heavy product placement in the movie. Jim Carrey does about 2 minutes on Red Bull, and you're like, I wish they would cut. I wish they would cut. And they keep not cutting. And it's like, oh, this is embarrassing. And there's a point where he demos the Tempur-Pedic mattress, and he even puts the wine glass on the bed. And you're like, how much product placement did they have to take to make this movie? And it was a lot. So I want to push back on nocturnality. Sorry, I'm terrible at that. He says, or she says, it's not a chicken and egg problem. Build the infrastructure and it will be used when it's needed, not when we hype and market it. And I hate to tell you, but they did this in San Francisco. This company went around door to door to businesses, and they trained them how to use Bitcoin, and they gave them a tablet to accept the Bitcoin on. The problem was no one shopped there. So these tablets got put up on a shelf and the batteries died, and the employee who knew how to use it quit. And pretty soon you come in because you found Bitcoin on the map and you say, I'm here to spend Bitcoin. And they say, oh, we don't take that anymore. And sure, they have the sticker on the window and the tablet's on the shelf and it's dead and the employees quit. And they're not going to take it off coin map or whatever it's called these days. So yeah, it didn't work. We need both sides, which is, again, that's how we solve the chicken and the egg problem, is that we have a ton of merchants and a ton of consumers, because in general, Bitcoin takes over all of society and rises, and all the boats rise at the same time. And there's tons of merchants and there's tons of consumers, and it works. Hello, caller. You're live on the World Crypto Network. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Howdy. I'm from the Netherlands.
All right. How's it going in the Netherlands
My name's
today?
not that important.
Sure. What's on your mind about Bitcoin today?
I think I want to talk about narrative for a second, because I think there is an information war in terms of Bitcoin, and I think that the whole money thing and sound money thing, however important it is maybe 50% of the story. Maybe it's 70%. I don't know, but I'd say it's only half the story, and it causes a lot of confusion. A bit earlier, you talked about, I missed a ton of the show, but a bit earlier you talked about the infrastructure and getting people to accept Bitcoin for payments, et cetera, et cetera. And I think that in the long term, that's not how we're going to use Bitcoin. So it's futile to actually try to make it happen, because it's not going to happen, because it's just not how we're going to eventually implement this technology. And that's on the payment side. And I think the other side of the story in Bitcoin is the fact that it's administrative technology, and it's a new administrative infrastructure that we're building, a global administrative infrastructure. And I think that's the other side of the story that's maybe almost as important.
Well, I definitely agree with you, but I think right now a lot of what the story of Bitcoin is just speculation and FOMO. People want more money, and people feel bad because other people who came in before them made money. So everybody's trying to catch up, and they're looking for the next cool altcoin or the next ICO, or maybe Bitcoin's low, maybe Bitcoin's high. You can't tell which part of the peak you're on, and everybody's trying to get a leg up and get that $1 million, get that Lamborghini, whatever it is, so they can retire. So I think that's the narrative that's the hardest part to overcome. I agree with you with the sound money. What's so hard about that is you tell somebody how it's sound money and how the halvening works and all these kind of things, and they say, well, that means that Bitcoin should always go up in price. And right now we have this situation where Bitcoin went from 18K to 6K. It clearly didn't go up in price. So therefore, is it still sound money? Why isn't it working? All those things. And really, the sound money thing doesn't kick in until we reach critical mass and a certain number of users all have their Bitcoin. And I agree with you. I don't think it's going to happen through merchants and through buying and selling goods for Bitcoin. I think it's going to be more of a savings device like we're seeing in Venezuela. If you have a savings account in Bitcoin in Venezuela, you're probably doing okay, even though you might have lost 2/3 of your money. Because yesterday they just devaluated the currency 95%. So if you were holding bolivars in a bank account, you lost 95%. If you're holding Bitcoin, you lost maybe 75% or 70%, whatever we're on now. So not that bad. But again, it didn't just go up in value because it's sound money. I want you to expand more on this idea of the administrative side of Bitcoin. What kind of inventions or futures can we receive from that side of Bitcoin?
All right, so this is the utility part for the most part. So I want you to think about a Bitcoin transaction in a different way. So the narrative for a long time has been that you can send a lot of Bitcoin in just a single transaction, right? I can send 1,000 Bitcoin just as easily. I can send 1 Bitcoin or half a Bitcoin. So it's easy to send a lot of value on the network, right? I want you to think about it in the opposite way. How many transactions can I fund, or how many transactions can I pay with X amount of Bitcoin? Because from the administrative side, that's what it's important, because every transaction that you do on the main chain is a mutation on the administrative side. And I'm not sure, are you aware of Peter Todd's single-use seals and proof of publication system?
Sure. Peter's been developing like a Bitcoin timestamping type system. It's open timestamps, something like that.
Right. Right. Well, it's different from open timestamps. So what open timestamps does is just make a timestamp of a document, and this system is more of, I guess you could say it's like building a sidechain on top of Bitcoin, and then using that to provide tokens or entities that have a certain continuity on them that can be independently verified on the blockchain. So, but timestamps is fine for the administrative side, right?
Okay, so it's like timestamps on a side chain with timestamp coin, something like that.
No, okay. So what you do is you have this notion of a seal, where you can create a seal and then you can close it, and it's basically the same as a Bitcoin transaction. It's like you create a transaction that creates a UTXO, and then you can only spend that UTXO once. So if you imagine the creation of a UTXO being the creation of a seal, and then spending that UTXO as closing that seal, you can check if the seal is still valid. You just have to check the blockchain to make sure that the seal hasn't been closed yet, or the UTXO hasn't been spent yet. And you can do that over and over and over again, like opening and closing the seal at the same time, referencing the previous seal, and then you basically create a blockchain of seals. And if you put a digest of a large database of seals in those particular on-chain seals, then you can now provide a proof of publication via a Merkle proof from your database through the anchoring you did on the main chain with your seal. So in that sense, timestamps works for what I want to talk about on the administrative side. You can basically timestamp 1 billion documents with a single Bitcoin transaction. Mm-hmm. And so in terms of scaling and utility, we can get a lot out of the Bitcoin network. The only thing that it requires is that you run a node, because you need to verify, right? Don't trust, verify.
Right.
And I think that's where a lot of the utility is going to come from. So now, in terms of like, what's the value of Bitcoin? I think this is where the actual value of Bitcoin is going to be determined, because does it matter you have to pay a lot for a transaction fee if you're representing, like, let's say one transaction is $50, maybe it's $100, maybe it's 1,000, I don't care. If that one single transaction represents 1 billion documents, do I really care that I have to pay $1,000 for a transaction? Because the economic value that I'm representing with that single transaction is so enormous that I'm more than willing to pay that fee. So the competition for block space, so if we actually have administrative utility, let's say in the form of timestamps, or this scheme that Peter Todd is building with the single use seals, is that's actually utility. Now institutions or people are need to do a Bitcoin transaction every so often.
Mm-hmm.
So they're willing to pay for it. And the more economic value that is backed behind that single, that's implicated in that single transaction, is makes it easier for them to bid up in terms of like paying the miner fees. Because ultimately we need utility in order to pay for the miner fees. And I think that just settling like monetary stuff on chain is not enough. So we need more. I think that's going to be a large part of like this utility that we're going to build up, where we're using the Bitcoin blockchain as a single source of quote unquote truth to reach consensus, not just on how many Bitcoin we have, but also on administrative stuff. So a document, or my business identity, or maybe my online identity, because that's what I'm personally working on right now. It's like an open identity system based on the scheme that Peter Todd provided.
Mm-hmm.
And this utility side is going to like quote unquote force us to use that blockchain, and that's what's going to pay for the miners actually providing proof of work. This subsidy scheme of like going to end in like 12 years. It's going to go on for a very long time, but it's not going to, like, in 12 years, it's not going to be significant anymore, because by that time it's like around 1 Bitcoin or something, maybe
sure,
14.
unless the price of Bitcoin keeps doubling at every halving, and it'll just keep going up, and then 1 Bitcoin will still satisfy the need to mine it.
Right. Although, like, eventually we'll get to like a tipping point, right? You agree?
It's tough to say. I think we have other options. Then someone like Amazon might need to use Bitcoin for payment, so they might mine it as kind of a public service. Someone's like Intel or Microsoft or IBM might mine it as a scientific interest. They're curious to see what happens if it keeps going on. Other reasons to mine Bitcoin other than just great wealth might have to be raised. Additionally, the electricity usage could continue to rise at that point. We might need a more efficient way of mining. I'm not sure what that is, but
That doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Efficiency doesn't matter in terms of the electricity that is used. This is a real issue with the Bitcoin network. It's like the coming 12 to 14 years going to be really interesting, because if the price doubling goes faster than the halving on the subsidy, then all the electricity side, that's like, in terms of like the problems with the electricity use of Bitcoin, is there is truth to it, because if the price keeps going up too fast in relation to the subsidy, then it actually might become ridiculous. This more than 40 exahash at this point might even be ridiculous already. So because there's not really a market dynamic determining this other than speculation on the price of the coin, and then large investments into mining. And the efficiency of machines doesn't matter at all, because it's always the cost of electricity and cost of a Bitcoin. And miners are just going to fill up going to spend the amount of electricity that is worth to like marginal cost and marginal profit, right? So the marginal profit is like the value of the coin, and then people are just going to spend the money on electricity. And having more efficient machines doesn't matter. It just allows you to run more machines. So the efficiency is important for the hash rate and the difficulty. It's not necessarily, it doesn't have anything to do with the amount of electricity that you use. Did you follow? Hello?
Sorry, I was muted. I'm sorry. But no, I agree with you on the administrative side. I think that's a very interesting use for Bitcoin, to use it to timestamp these millions of documents. And like you're saying, with Peter Todd's kind of side chain of one single use seals, and that you could stamp 1 million documents on a side chain, and then you could do 1 million more, so on and so forth, is a really interesting use case for Bitcoin. And it could even help us through this scaling of mining problems when the reward comes out. Maybe one of these type administrative systems where you have to keep it going because of the time stamping will result in them paying for the mining of Bitcoin.
Right.
But yeah, I think it's a really interesting idea, and we definitely need to talk about it more. So definitely give us a call in the future and tell us more about this idea and what's going on with Peter Todd's new time stamping system. It sounds great.
Right. I'll try to call you tomorrow.
All right, that'd be great. Well,
subject.
Thanks so much for your call. I definitely think it's a different way to look at Bitcoin, and I'm interested to see what the chat will say if they're into time stamping as well. And I think it's a new direction. So I'm excited. I think there's always been lots of different directions in Bitcoin. One of the best things about it is that it's like a Swiss Army knife, and it just has all these tools. And if I wanted to, I could sell you on it's cool because it has a magnifying glass, or it's cool because it has a big knife. So all of these things just add to Bitcoin and increase our options on how to tell people about it and how to support it in the future.
All right. I'll see if I can call it tomorrow. Good luck with the rest of the show.
Tomorrow or anytime. It's always good to hear from you. Thanks so much for your call.
All right.
All right. And we're going to head towards the end of the show. It's rounding 11 o'clock out here on the West Coast time zone, wherever we are these days. Good old Las Vegas. Just wanted to remind you really quick that you can support the World Crypto Network by donating now to the Bitcoin QR code on your screen. We've also got some altcoins. We accept the ones that are accepted by Trezor. And we've got the World Crypto Network Patreon at patreon.com/WCN, where you can subscribe for as little as $2 a month using your credit card. Just sign it and forget it. You'll be donating to the World Crypto Network. It's kind of just like donating to public broadcasting or NPR or any of those other services that provide you with interesting educational content that wouldn't exist without donors like you. So whether you believe that or not, this is how things actually work. If you want me to talk about Pepsi Cola and Coca-Cola and all those things, that's what advertising is. You can support the Mad Bitcoins Patreon at patreon.com/madbitcoins, where 80 patrons are donating $493 a month to support this show. This is the actual salary that you get paid to do this show. Over at our Tallycoin campaign at tallyco.in, where you can create your own fundraiser, we've raised $339. That's 0.03% towards our goal of $1 million. We had some great calls today. Thanks to everybody for hanging out. Give us those thumbs up and the share. Wait till the video renders, then you can leave a comment. You could be a part of yesterday's comments by leaving a comment today. So be sure to share the show, subscribe, give us a thumbs up and a share, and we'll be back tomorrow with another episode of Bitcoin Talk Show. Until next time, bye-bye.